Hey, I'm Felissa Rose, and you're watching Keto and Crime.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Thought Crime and Keto and Crime. I am back. We are in Florida. We go down Sarasota area 2 weeks around 4th of July. We'll be here till mid-July, so I'll be filming from here. But exciting times, so I get to have some fun, not work as much. But to me, my videos are not working. That is fun. So I will still be spending a lot of time with you. But that being said, I promised you a review of Doomsday Mom, the Lori Vallow story on Lifetime. I watched it. We drove all day, all night, so I watched it about 8 a.m. this morning on my phone, and then I fell asleep for a little while and just finished watching it via Lifetime On Demand on the television here. So I think after seeing it twice, I have a good grasp of it and can actually talk intelligently by it. Now, the movie premiered last night, June 26th. I was not able to get that on the road because it's only available on Hulu Lifetime live TV version, which is the most expensive version of Hulu around. So I tried to upgrade to that, which I did, but it doesn't start until July 1, so I couldn't watch it from my phone. So I had to wait for it to premiere and then be released onto Hulu under regular streaming. So I was able to do it this morning via that and here on the television. Now Hulu, big Hulu fan, also big Netflix fan. Hulu, why do you force people to watch these movies? They have to either get live version, and the live version has, I counted at least 22 ads that ran during the duration. It would be like 8 to 10 minutes a movie commercial. Maybe it's because I haven't watched regular television in so long. But that really annoyed me. Hulu, do better. It may just be Lifetime Network. Lifetime, do better. There's no reason why you should subject people to that many commercials. I'm a big proponent of ads. I mean, that's partially how I get paid on here. But, yeah, it's a bit much. So that's just a personal gripe. But with that being said, let's jump into the movie. It was made 2020. It starred... Now, let me double-check her name, because I kept wanting to call her Lara Bell Bundy, which is not correct. Lara Bell Bundy is a fabulous actress, was in the Broadway version of Hairspray, where she played the villain, and also played Elle Woods in the Broadway version of Legally Blonde. So that's where I know her from. She's a fabulous stage actress, but she is not the one in this movie. But I kept wanting to call this actress, who looks a lot like Lara Bell Bundy. But her name is actually Laura Lee Smith. Played Lori Vallow in the movie, where she is a Canadian actress. Has been in a lot of Lifetime and Hallmark type movies, because a lot of those movies are filmed in Canada. And I will be the first to admit, I'm a huge fan of Hallmark movies, Netflix Christmas movies, and Lifetime movies. I mean, that is the one thing I will absolutely girl out on, is those types of movies. So I really enjoy it. She's been in a lot of them. I've seen her. And Chad Daybell was played by Mark Blucas, who is he's an American. He has had roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Necessary Roughness, Killer Women. So pretty well-known American actor. He is much better looking than Chad Daybell ever thought about being. The only thing they missed were the jowls and the chin. They should have made that up. But he did bear a striking resemblance to Chad Daybell. Now, Miss Smith looked a lot like Lori Vallow in this movie. She really did. They got the hair right. She had the kind of emotionless expression right lots of times. She did a really good job portraying Lori Vallow. She really got into it. I think she's a very good method actress, so I think she really jumps into her role. So she did a great job there. But let's start with just a summary of the movie. So spoilers ahead, and then as we go point by point, we'll talk about how it relates to the real case, what they left in, what they left out, what they got right, what they got wrong. How about that? Let's do it. I try to remain objectionable as possible when I'm doing a movie review because I want to take the movie for its actual merits as a movie, but it is a Lifetime movie. So it's never going to win any Academy Awards. But I did think the acting was fine. I think because I'm so close to this case and that I know so much about it, it's going to be hard for me not to get really subjective on it, but I'm going to try. So it starts with Chad and Lori being chased by reporters in Kauai in 2019, just before her arrest for desertion and failure to support of minor children. They, of course, don't want to answer questions, and then it cuts to Chandler, Arizona in 2017, where you see the whole 𝗟𝗲𝗃𝗍𝗄 clan. It's a Christmas celebration. Charles is there, Lori's there, JJ's there, Tylee is there. And the actress that played Tylee, I think, was great. She did a really good job. She had that look on her face that I think probably Tylee had most of the time, where she loved her mom but didn't really believe a lot of the bullshit her mom was spewing. So she did a really great job. The boy that played JJ did a great job portraying somebody suffering with autism. He had the mannerisms right, at least from what I've seen. He had the mannerisms right. He had the inquisitiveness, the tendency to, live in your own world, in your own head. He had that right. Was a very sweet boy. Easily likable. The two kids were very likable. I think is one thing that they got good about this movie. They showed the children in their absolute innocence. So it starts with the entire family, including Melanie Pawlowski, now Melanie Pawlowski, then Boudreaux. Brandon was there. They seemed to be a very happy, sweet, loving couple, but then so did Charles and Lori. My first criticism of this movie is the compressed timeline. Even though it would occasionally throw up a date, 2017, 2019, to let you know where you were, they really played this out like it all happened in a very compressed timeline. So you see a very happy, lovey-dovey Charles and Lori, which I think by 2017, that was probably not the case, because they had already had, I'm sure, lots of marital strife, maybe had even had the divorce, not divorce kind of argument by that time. But in any case, they were portrayed as a very loving couple. Alex Cox was there, and then they brought in Larry and Kay Woodcock in to visit for Christmas, and Patrick Duffy played Larry Woodcock. I've not seen old Patrick in a long time, so it was nice to see him. He's looking pretty good for his age, I have to admit. He was one of my first crushes growing up. So, Patrick Duffy, if you're a fan, he's in this movie, does a great job. So, just a family Christmas, but just in the middle of it, Tylee is seen sitting over at a table where she seems kind of depressed. Lori goes in to talk to her, and turns out she's having boy problems, and Lori first starts a normal, don't worry about it. You think you're hurting now, but you'll be okay. I'm like, okay, that's a pretty cool mom thing to do, but then it just turns. She starts talking about how the end of the world will be soon anyway, and all that won't matter. Way to go, Mom. But, so anyway, that, and then it fast forwards to her going to a rummage sale and finding a Chad Daybell book. Now, the name of this particular book was Spread Your Wings. Now, I've said, did I miss a Chad Daybell book? But no, there is no Spread Your Wings. I don't know if they couldn't get the rights to use an actual copy of the book in the movie, or they just didn't. I'm gathering that this movie was probably made without the cooperation of the Daybell family, so they probably couldn't use his actual book in there due to copyright. But so anyway, it was a Chad Daybell book that does not exist in reality. But so then she starts reading it, and she's sitting in their bedroom telling Charles all about, pretty much reciting the plot to every Chad Daybell book we've ever written, at least the apocalyptic novels about the white camps, and no food, the huge earthquake, the disease, China and Russia invading. I mean, they got that right. Every Chad Daybell book's plot's essentially the same, and they got that to a T when she was reciting to Charles. And she wanted to become a prepper, basically, a doomsday prepper. So Charles was like, oh, okay, whatever. Okay, go ahead. So she, Alex, and Tylee go to this farmer's market exhibition where they're talking to all these people that are in 𝗟𝗷, the Preppers Network, and they're learning which plants you can eat in the wilderness, how to hunt, just everything Doomsday Prepper related. And she sees a woman giving a talk about raising an autistic son and her divorce and just becoming one with God. Turns out it's Melanie Gibb. Now, I did not see any signage around there about her 𝗧𝗿𝗽𝗀 book. Again, this was probably made without her permission as well, or without her support. The only ones I maybe had some input on it was Lori and 𝗂𝗂𝘀𝗶, because they got their story pretty much correct. There was a lot of discrepancies in the rest. So anyway, she meets Melanie, they become friends, and she starts asking about Chad Daybell. Melanie says, yes, I know Chad, and then cut to another 𝗟𝗷 event somewhere in Arizona, where she actually attends a talk given by Mr. Daybell and becomes absolutely infatuated with him. And they actually start an emotional affair during that very thing. It's, she's telling him about her kids and her husband, and how she feels that he's got it right. The end of the world is soon, and he's eating that up, saying yes. And then they talk about their current husbands, and he says, we've been married in 9 past lives, and eventually we'll be married again in this life, because something's going to happen to our spouses. I mean, that's just right away. As I said, all of this is happening in a very compressed timeline. So even though things that might have been spread across 2 or 3 years, in reality, this movie really compresses it down. It's a Lifetime movie. They're not going to get everything right. So the thing that got me about how they portrayed Chad and Lori's first meeting, as it seemed he was the mastermind. Now, maybe he was. I mean, we don't know. But for the most part, I think he's kind of a simp. And I don't think he would have taken control like that. I think it might have been more on her, but they were really portraying him as the mastermind. But hey, it's Lifetime. That's usually how they portray things, is the woman's portrayed as more the victim. Not saying that Lori wasn't a victim to a certain extent, but they portrayed, Chad almost like a Disney villain, like the old movies where they're, I'm going to tie you to the railroad tracks. That's kind of how they were portraying Chad in this movie. I'm sure there's evil in Chad, don't get me wrong. But he's not a good person. He's an evil person. But do I think he was the absolute mastermind of what happened? I have a hard time buying that. If anything, it was equal or more on Lori, in my opinion. I mean, more will be known when Chad actually goes to trial later this year. But, So, they start this emotional affair. Things start to get tedious with Charles. Things start to get tedious with Tylee, because Tylee's really not into all this stuff. And then it kind of shows some strife between Melanie and Brandon. The one thing that Lori was adamant about is Chad meeting her brother Alex, because she says, I could not imagine him not being one of the chosen, because they just had a conversation about how her and Chad are going to lead the 144,000 that will escape tribulation into heaven. And they're 2 of the elite, as is Melanie Gibb and some others. I assume they were relating to David Warwick and Jason Mao, though those names never come up in this entire movie. So something tells me they absolutely told Lifetime, no way, you're not putting us in this movie. So those are never mentioned, but they talk about more Doomsday Prepper brothers and sisters in Arizona. So I'm assuming that's who they were referring to. But, so anyway, she wants Chad to meet her brother to affirm that he's one of the chosen as well. So cut to Arizona, in what appears to be like a week later, and Chad is there, and it's a big barbecue in Charles and Lori's house. It's a beautiful house in Chandler, Arizona. Absolutely huge barbecue. Everyone's there. Alex is talking to Chad. He's taking notes. It had shown a scene where Lori was going to an open mic night that Alex did for stand-up comedy, where he did that exact same routine that you can find here on YouTube. I did a video on it. I'll link it up here. So he did that, almost that entire routine through. I mean, the audience there in the movie was not reacting, but in the video, people were laughing. Alex was a funny dude, at least on stage. As a stand-up comedian, I can say he was funny. So he's talking to Chad, and then Chad is eyeing JJ in a very creepy way, because JJ's running all around with his tablet, wanting to know where his dad is, referring to Charles. And then this entire movie is intercut with interviews of Melanie Gibb from her famous East Idaho News interview, as well as Kay and Larry Woodcock, them talking about what a good mother Lori was, and Melanie talking about what a good mother she was. So all of this is kind of cutting in with interviews of the actors portraying the real people, so it's kind of intercutting between present and past. But Chad is eyeing JJ in a very creepy way, like, I can't be bothered, because JJ's running all around with his tablet. He's always wanting to FaceTime his dad. He's wanting to FaceTime his grandparents. Very sweet boy. And so you get the feeling that Chad was like, I gotta get rid of this kid. I mean, that's the look that he had on his face. Again, they were making Chad out to be a Disney villain with the, mustache. So, kind of goes back and forth. They get more and more to the Prepper Network. They start doing podcasts. And then Chad comes down to visit her, and that's where they have the scene where, in the closet, the prayer closet that he said would be a portal to him, they make out in this closet, and then Chad is telling her that Charles has gone dark. That Charles is dark, and this is just a week, according to the movie, a week after Tylee's dad, Joseph Ryan, comes in, dropping Tylee off after a weekend, and says he doesn't appreciate her scaring their daughter like that, and she needs to cut it out. And then a few minutes later, she's on the phone with Chad talking about it, and Chad says, well, we just have to pray for God to intervene. And then you literally see Lori in the famous poster shot for the movie praying literally that Joseph will die, saying, I'm not a killer, but we have to remove him from our mission. And then they get a call that Joseph died of heart failure. So they made it out that she prayed for Joseph to die, and God granted her prayer. That's how the movie portrayed it. So, bullshit there. But then, fast forward, her and Chad's in the prayer closet, and he says that Charles has gone dark, and basically tells her to keep Alex close to her and have Alex take care of it. So, I guess we're now, fast forward to another scene of Charles in his car talking to Kay and Larry Woodcock, telling them that he got to the airport to come home because he was on business in California. This is during this week of partying that they were doing. And his ticket has been canceled, and the $35,000 is missing from his account. Now, as we all know, that has already happened way prior to her actually meeting Daybell. So, at least that part of it, because they had reconciled before Chad Daybell came in. So, a lot of things that the movie kind of accelerated for entertainment purposes. So, he's talking to Kay and Larry. They said, we're here for you no matter what. And then it cuts to Lori telling Chad that Charles has filed for divorce, that she's now free. And he says, well, I'm not. And then in the background, you see Tammy and 2 children. They portray Chad and Tammy only having 2 children. In the background, well, I'm not free. Tammy will pass on in time, but in a car accident. He literally said a car accident. But for now, I can't. So then he reiterates what he said about have Alex deal with it. And then we cut to Charles coming in to pick up JJ to take him to school on that infamous morning, and an argument between Alex and Charles, and boom, then we cut to the body cam footage of the cops coming in to investigate where Alex shot Charles. And he's talking about how Charles went and grabbed a baseball bat that Tylee had because she was scared and turned it on him, and then that's when it happened, and then Lori got the kids and left, and then Lori pulls up with Tylee in the car, and the cops are questioning her, and she doesn't seem upset at all. She's just like, oh, well, we're good neighbors. We had a murder. Just weird. I mean, any cop should have been suspicious, but yet they buy it, and it's self-defense. So we all know how that happens. And then they have a party that very night celebrating Charles's life with, barbecue and booze and all this stuff. And then, which is strange, at least they portrayed them in the movie as having booze. I didn't think LDS could drink. But anyway, they were drinking. And so you have her telling JJ that his dad is now working in California. And then again, you see JJ running around with his tablet, wanting to FaceTime his father, and she won't let him. Okay, then it cuts to Lori sitting in front of a laptop. She's making a call, trying to find out what she needs to do to collect on his insurance policy, only to find out that it's been transferred to 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗏. So she's very upset about that. Then it cuts to an interview with 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗏 saying if she had known that he transferred the policy to me, maybe he would still be alive. So then she's on the phone with Chad. Chad's hiding in like the garage from Tammy and the two kids they're portraying him as having, and telling her to just sell everything and move to Idaho, that he has a feeling that Tammy's going to be dead in a car accident within 2 weeks. So the quick move from Arizona to Idaho happens. It shows Alex, Lori. The kids don't want to go. It's pretty obvious. But still, they go. And then it shows Melanie asking Brandon Boudreaux for a divorce. And then she goes. And so they get to Rexburg. Tammy's still alive. There's a huge fight between Chad and Lori supposedly on the phone. And then JJ runs in wanting to FaceTime with his dad, who she's still telling him is alive, in California, and JJ's throwing an absolute fit about it, and you see Chad's eyes just whatever when he's listening to JJ upset about his dad. So you get that feeling, okay, he's again thinking, gotta get rid of this kid. So, cut to a little while later when Chad comes to pick up Lori, and they're talking, and he basically tells her that both her children are dark. They don't ever use the word zombie, just dark. Evil spirits, dark. So she appears that she doesn't want to do anything about it, but he convinces her. Again, they're making Chad out to be the more of the villain in this movie. But I think Lori was at least 50%, if not the mastermind of it. So, anyway, she tells Alex the plan, and then Tylee, she comes in one afternoon and asks Tylee to babysit JJ, and Tylee doesn't want to. She says, Mom, I can't. I got a lot of stuff I got to do. And then they get into a fight, and then that's when Lori says, you have gone dark. You're not my daughter anymore. And Tylee's like, no, Mom, you're wrong. I just don't want to babysit my brother. So that, it's like she's dark because she's being a teenager. And so then we jump to September of 2019, the trip to Yellowstone, and it's done kind of weirdly. Like they keep honing in on this hatchet that Alex has hanging from his backpack to, we know that Tylee's body was found all chopped up, as opposed to JJ's, who was whole. So they were alluding that he potentially may have killed her with the axe, but we don't see, because no one knows. But it kind of shows, the family, and then it pans to Lori kind of looking at Alex, like giving him the okay signal, and then Tylee, the actress that plays Tylee, she just fades from film, like just disappears. And then she's telling everybody she's gone to college. And then JJ is wanting to FaceTime with his sister. And so his obsession goes from his wanting to see his father to wanting to see his sister. And then we cut to the famous time when Warwick and Melanie Gibb came up to record the podcast, and Warwick and Chad supposedly went and looked at some land, but David Warwick's not there. It's just Melanie. So Melanie comes in and she stays in Tylee's room, noticing there's absolutely nothing there. It's been stripped bare. And then cut to them actually recording the podcast, and you see JJ come in mad because he can't find his tablet because he wants to FaceTime his sister. And you see him start running around the kitchen screaming, "I want to talk to Tylee." It'll break your heart. Very good little actor there. And he finally climbs up on the counter to look for the tablet on top of the refrigerator, and that's when he knocks the Jesus statue over, famously. And then you see the look on Lori's face. She runs in and grabs him, consoles him, and then cut to a few days later where she's telling his new private school she's going to homeschool him. The teacher doesn't really want to let him go, but of course, no choice. And then as she waves to the teacher and JJ wave to each other, and as Lori starts to drive off with JJ in the back seat of the SUV, you see the actor that plays JJ just disappear. So, also alludes that he's been killed. And so then you have everybody looking for the children. It never shows anything about Lori continuing to take the Social Security benefits from both children. That's never brought up, never alluded to. But you do see her, starting to plan a future with Chad. She orders her own engagement ring, and then in this very weird scene, alluding to, goodness knows what, Alex gets the package. He's over at Lori's townhouse. He opens it, sees the engagement ring, and he gets down on his knees, like teasing her, like, weird, just weird. And so there you go. And then cut to the Brandon Boudreaux getting shot at situation. It shows that. And then after that, you see Melanie on the phone finding out that Brandon's still alive. It never shows the trip Alex and Melanie took to Brandon Boudreaux's parents' house up in Utah, where she got arrested and had to be bailed out. It never shows that. But then cut to Tammy Daybell being found on the floor in the morning by her loving husband. The two kids come in. They're upset. She's buried right away. And then, but before they showed her death, they showed Chad upping the life insurance on her by $100,000 the night before he found her. Yeah, so it does show that. And then he and Lori, plan to get married, go to Hawaii. But before, you see the police on the prompting of the Woodcocks come to do the check on Tylee and Ryan. JJ can't find them, and then of course they fly to Hawaii, get married, and then when you get to the death of Alex Cox, the police are having a discussion about how Alex is just always there, but how, most criminals learn to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And then it cuts to this very devious discussion between Chad and Lori about just that, keeping your friends and enemies close. And then cut to the whole incident with Alex dying, supposedly of a blood clot. And then everyone saying, oh, he was very, very sick. We were kind of expecting this kind of thing. And then it moves pretty quickly through them breaking Alex's cell phone, getting all the locations of where Alex was on the day of the Yellowstone trip. And after they, talk about the text where it actually showed Chad sending the famous raccoon text to Tammy. And so they start putting two and two together. Then it shows the whole saga of her being given a certain amount of time to produce the children. She didn't. She's arrested in a very dramatic way in Kauai, with Chad just kind of sitting there watching the coverage. He goes back, of course, to Idaho, and then you fast forward to the search of the Daybell property in Rexburg, and then you get the very famous reenactment of the phone call that we've all heard, where Lori and Chad are kind of whisper talking about the fact that they're there searching, and Lori asks, what can I do? Pray. He goes, yes. And he says, I need to go. I need to talk to someone else. And she goes, well, should I call you later? Yeah, you can try. in that actual phone call, Chad just sounds depressed and out of heart. But in the movie, they made him out to be, like, starting to pull away. Like, this woman's ruined my life. I need to get away from it. But yet they were portraying him as the criminal. So, very devious the way they portrayed it there. And then fast forward to the trial, real footage of Lori Daybell being brought into the courtroom and then saying, Chad Daybell's trial has been set for such and such date. Lori has not been found competent to stand trial, so remains to be determined. And that's kind of where the movie ends. As far as my opinion on the movie, it's a Lifetime movie. It's no better, no worse. Some of the acting was really good. My major complaints was how they left out, of course, a lot of characters, like a lot of people. Jason Mao, David Warwick. They kind of skimmed over the Brandon Boudreaux, 𝗟𝗟𝗃𝗁𝗂𝗂𝗃 saga. That Ian was never mentioned either. So I believe there was a lot of people that did not want to be a part of this movie, and they probably legally couldn't mention them. For those of us that know the case, we see the holes. My other big issue is that they portrayed Chad to be literally a Disney villain. I have no love for Chad Daybell. I honestly wish I could get 5 minutes alone with each of them. I mean, just 5 minutes. You don't need to give me a weapon or anything. I can use my bare hands, and they can fight back. I don't think I would have any problem getting a pound of flesh from either of them. That's the way I feel about it. But I have no love for either of these people. But I think because it's Lifetime, they had to portray the woman as more of the victim. So they made it all out on him, and I think it was either 50-50 or more on Lori than Chad. I think Chad is more of a simp. But who knows? He could have been some evil puppeteer. Who knows? Well, I'm going to be watching the trial with a very huge interest in covering that for you. So those are my main stipulations. I mean, it's very dramatic. There's a lot of exposition, especially from the police officers who are telling you everything about, the cell phone log and the investigation. But they do a good job in compressing what went on for years into about 90 minutes. So I enjoyed it. It's worth a look. It is a Lifetime movie. It's not going to win any Oscars or even any Emmys or anything, but it does an adequate. If you went into it not knowing anything about the movie, about the case, you would come out of it with a cursory understanding of it. Even though they leave out a lot of detail, you would still kind of know the gist. So they did a good job in that way. I anticipate there'll probably be another movie about it after the trial when more is known, but they did an okay job. I give it a thumb and a half. It was good. It was okay. It's worth a watch. It's worth 90 minutes of your time. 2 hours with all the freaking ads, but okay, it's worth 2 hours of your time. With that being said, that's my review of Doomsday Mom. I will be back in just a couple of days with my summary and review of Chad Daybell's 𝗵𝗂. That's his very first novel. I'll be doing that. And then I have some other cases coming up for you as well. And I look forward to having a productive 2 weeks in Florida with you. So I love you all. Thank you so much for all the support. And until next time, Keto and Krime.